Hi, this is Chris Rego, and I'm going to show you today how to get hex colors from an image in the web using a URL, using a little bit of Python and powerquery. So I have a function that I posted on my GitHub, but I'll get to that in a minute. Backing up, I got this idea from Kyler Mintz's Medium article, uh, building a color palette generated in Python. If you follow this, he did a really good job on this post, kind of going through it. And he had posted Python code, and you could really just take the code, go to Google Colab, run it, and it'll work. If you don't have Python on your computer, you got to install it, and you got to import, use pip install or conda install, whatever you're using, and basically install. You don't have to do all of these if you're just going to replicate what I did. Like, I don't think you need. Let me see. Actually, I think they might. You don't need to import math. Some of these you don't need to import, but you still need the library. So you might as well just import or install. Math comes with Python, but just install pandas, install a lot of this stuff because these are common ones. So it says PIL here, but look for pillow, and that will get you the library you need. But you literally can just paste all these into separate cells in Google Colab or Anaconda and a Jupyter Notebook or whatever, and it'll run and you'll be fine. And you could basically duplicate what he did. When he did this, well, when I used his code to pull this image and get the colors, I got 5 or 6 colors back, and it looked pretty much similar to this. So for Power BI, I'm not going to go into the whole nitty gritty of setting up Python for Power BI. I'll just go over the function. There's a lot of explainer videos on how to set it up. So, just a quick YouTube search, you'll find plenty to help you out if you need help there. But I wrote this function, and shout out to, let me see, Lars Schriever, where he has a good article on just documenting your Power Query code. So if you want to write your metadata in our Schreiber, I should say, sorry about that. It's a really good way of explaining this post as well as how to add some documentation to your code. So you get this type setup and an example of how to use it and all that other stuff. So without further ado, I'll just go over this at a high level. Actually, wrong one. And then basically, this function takes a URL as a parameter. This is the Python code that I slimmed down to just do what I needed it to. And I just threw in and concatenated the text. I put in the URL parameter. So that's what makes it dynamic. So you can throw any image URL in there, and it'll run the Python and return what you need. So once I defined the Python text, I also defined a function to translate the RGB values that get returned from Python to hex codes. I already had this written, so that was nice. And then right about here, this is where it starts running. And I definitely like to separate my Python from the function just because it's more readable that way. And if you're doing it in the middle of a query transformation, I would just say add your Python as a separate step and then run Python execute on the text of the code as opposed to just pasting it into the pop-up box. That way you could see the Python as a distinct step and not have to deal with all the crazy formatting that gets thrown in there. So I do the same thing with SQL. I think it makes sense to do it with the Python.execute as well. So change types, added a column where I ran that function get hex on every red, green, blue. That's what turns around the hex codes. And then basically this is just documentation all down here. So here's an example where I ran the same exact link from the walkthrough from Tyler Minsa, and I got hex codes. I got 6 hex codes out of there. And if I go to the front end of Power BI, that's this one right here. And you can see that the colors pretty much match up what it looked like in that picture. So let me see. So if I go to this picture, those are the colors pretty much, and it matches the same thing that I got in Python. So that worked. Now I did another one. I invoked another function, and I took a color or a painting by Georgia O'Keeffe, because a lot of times people find their inspiration from artwork. So you can see it pulled all these colors. And if I go back to the front end of Power BI, you can see that's all this over here. And don't mind the totals. I'm just didn't turn that off. So if I go back here, just to do a live demo, just to show you how it runs, how quick it is. If you take this link, go back to powerquery, I'm just going to paste it here and invoke. And then you might get this pop up for script execution. You could turn it off under options. I left it on just so you could see that this comes up if you haven't used this before. Once I hit run, you can see it's pretty quick. And you get basically all the colors from that. And if I close and apply, I can check this really quickly. Let's just move these two over. And then I'll go here to view data. This is the third one that I did. And if I pull up the values a little bit, so you can see it a little better. And then if I go to cell elements, background color, field value, and you can see all the different colors that were in that picture. It doesn't look like a lot when you're looking at the picture itself, but when you start to like really look at the dark areas and how that changes, it's actually a pretty complex picture, although it looks like, oh, it's all yellow. It's not really. You got some green over here, you got black, very dark color over there. So, and that's kind of replicated when the Python runs all those different shades of yellow. So, a lot of database people pull their inspiration from artwork. And this is a great way to kind of do that quickly with a little bit of Python, a little bit of installing some libraries, and it runs pretty quick, and you can get everything documented and into Python pretty simply. All right, that's all I got. Thank you.